You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela, episode number 35.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. If this is your first time listening, be sure to subscribe to the podcast because Marshall and I have all kinds of helpful tips for you. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please rate us and write a review because this really helps other people find the podcast. So we're on episode number 35. Can you believe that, Marshall?
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
I know. We've just been having such a blast doing these podcasts for you guys. So today, I wanted to talk about one of the absolute basic aspects of weight loss. So I've already alluded to it lots of times, but I want to re-emphasize it because I always think it bears repeating. It's just so very important. This aspect of weight loss is really key, and I think it really helps to remind ourselves often about this very basic strategy. So what is it that I'm talking about? Well, here's this question I want you to ask yourself. Who's making your decisions about the foods that you're eating? Who's making those decisions? Now think about it very seriously for a minute. Nothing goes into your mouth unless you pick it up and eat it, right? So what goes into your decisions about what to eat, why to eat, when to eat? So is it a habit? For example, I used to go to Starbucks every morning. I had a very specific coffee drink that I'd order. It was sugar-free, so I figured it was okay. Turns out, it was creating cravings and difficulties later. So that's just one example. Lots of us are eating right out of habit. We're just sort of on autopilot all the time. Here's another question. Are you eating to please someone else? So we've talked a lot about how there are people in our lives for whom food is love, and their gifts of food are expressions of love for us. And we would feel badly if we didn't accept their love.
That's one that I really struggle with is that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a mom that knows how to bake really, really well.
I know. The bakers of the world.
And I'm sure if anybody's listened to any of our previous podcasts, they know about my mom as well.
Yeah. So are you eating as a buffer to prevent feeling some sort of negative emotion? So that's a term. There's a term called buffering, and that's where we want to put up something in between us and our negative emotions so that we don't have to feel the negative emotion. So, for example, are you eating because you're really actually bored, or maybe you're feeling restless, or maybe you're feeling frustrated or tired, or maybe you're feeling unloved or misunderstood? Food comes as a very nice buffer between us and those negative feelings.
Oh, that's me too.
Yeah, me too. So all of these and many more are reasons people eat and overeat, and then they end up struggling with their weight, right? So to end our struggles with our weight permanently, we can't just go on a diet. We have to actually slow everything down and begin to make very conscious choices about the foods that we eat and why we're eating them. Making it conscious is the key. So no more of these automatic grabs for food. You want to make very clear and rational decisions about what foods you're going to eat. Okay? So I've spoken before about the two parts of your brain that make food decisions. There's the primitive part of your brain, the reptile brain, it's sometimes called, and it has three motivations. They call it the motivational triad. The first motivation is for pleasure. The second motivation is to avoid pain. And the third motivation is to is basically ease and convenience, to find easy ways to do things. So if this part of your brain makes your food decisions, what do you suppose is going to happen? What happens when this part of your brain makes your food decisions? I'll tell you what happens for me. Well, it's like, I suddenly am like, oh, I'm a little bit hungry. I wonder what I can go rustle up, and it's never anything that's very well balanced. I'll maybe grab a handful of nuts or something. I haven't really planned any meals, and I'll just go grab something. And, for many, many people, there's chips in the house. There's all kinds of other stuff in the house. And if you just go grab food, what do you end up eating, Marshall?
Yeah. So what ends up happening with me is, I say to myself, what sounds good today? What's gonna taste good? And so I'm definitely an emotional eater, or out of boredom, to try to fulfill, a need or a void.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm not, for me, it's like prepping is super important. And when I prep, then if I have the right choice there, I will make the right choice.
Right.
If I don't have the right choice there, I will make the wrong choice, because I just tend to, I have my primitive brain is always, turned on and waiting for me to make a wrong decision. I'm always talking to myself about food. I don't know if anybody else does that. All day long, I'm talking to myself about food. I go through periods of time, where things get easier, when I get into my groove, but I get derailed pretty fast. And then I'm just talking to myself about food all day long.
Yeah. What's,
what am I going to have for breakfast? And what's the next meal going to be? Am I going to snack today? Am I not going to? So, it's a constant.
It just feels like a lot of really, a really intense mental energy sometimes. They call it cognitive load, is the psychologist term for it, or the neuroscientist term, cognitive load. It takes a lot of cognitive load to make these food decisions in the moment. It just takes a lot of effort to make the right decision in the moment. And so because your primitive brain is always right there wanting to, like you said, what's the best? What's going to taste the best right now? So there's that motivation for pleasure. And what's going to be easy? That's what happens for me, is I'm just looking for something easy. I don't want to actually cook something when I suddenly realize I'm hungry, right? Many people end up not eating because they're like, well, I really want to lose weight. There's nothing decent in the house. I'm just not going to eat. And that's counterproductive as well, because your body won't let go of fat unless it's well nourished and it knows that there's food coming. It's like it needs to, your brain needs to know that you're getting fed in order to be able to release fat. So it can be a real conundrum if you are relying on the primitive part of your brain to make your food decisions. So what part of your brain should be making your food decisions? That is your prefrontal cortex. That's the front part of the brain, the highest, most evolved human part of your brain. And this is the rational part of your brain that can think ahead, that can think about what you're thinking. It can plan. It knows what your long-term goals are. It has that vision of you 6 months, a year from now, however long it might be for your particular body to reach its ideal weight. Your prefrontal cortex has that in mind. So this is the part of your brain that you want to have in charge of your food decisions. So to be successful in weight loss, your prefrontal cortex must be in charge. Okay? You cannot be at the mercy of your primitive brain. You just can't. It won't work. So you never, ever want to make food decisions in the moment.
No, and it's really sad to say that the American food industry is targeted so much towards your primitive brain and trying to get us to stay in that mindset of easy, convenient, makes them money. So there's so many bad decisions. Look at all the fast food. And they're just billion-dollar industries. So it's just a constant battle for all of us to stay, in our executive way of thinking. And for me, prepping is the way to do it.
Yeah. So you're planning it ahead of time and you're preparing it ahead of time.
Yeah. And it gets easier. At first, it kind of sucks at first because, we're not used to doing it. You do have to take some time out of, what you might be doing otherwise. But after a while, it gets easier, and then it just becomes a part of your regular routine. I promise, because at first I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. It's so much work. And now it's just gotten easier and easier for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. So what I recommend is that everybody plans ahead at least 24 hours in advance. So Marshall will plan the whole week, which is a really advanced skill, actually, to plan everything a week in advance. But for those of us who are just getting started, planning 24 hours in advance is enough. And so let's say it's the night before and you're thinking about your day the next day, and you've got, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have this for breakfast. I'm going to have this for lunch. I'm going to have this for dinner. And you write it all down on a piece of paper. This way, especially in the beginning, this way you're going to know exactly what you're supposed to eat, because you'll be going along all busy at noon and you'll be like, oh yeah, it's time to eat. And you're like, wait a minute, what did I think I was going to eat? What did I plan? You might have it with you. You might not have it with you. So you want to make sure that you write it down in the beginning. Okay. So that you know exactly what you're going to be having. So that kind of, like planning it ahead is actually a relatively easy part of the weight loss journey, even though it takes a little bit of extra time and thought. The not so easy part is then learning how to manage your primitive brain when it presents you with urges in the moment. So
right.
What happens is, you've got it all planned, and then it's like, oh, I had this chicken salad planned for lunch, but I don't really want to eat that. I'd rather just go out for fast food with my coworkers or something like that. Or I'd rather
talk to people who do that. And some of our patients, we talk about how you buy out everything for your salads and then it just rots in your refrigerator.
Exactly.
Then you end up not eating it.
Right. Yeah. So this is the real work of weight loss, is managing that primitive brain, because that primitive brain is always going to be presenting you with urges for pleasure eating or relief of pain eating, meaning emotional eating, or convenience eating. Okay. But if you know that this is what's happening, you can plan for it. So if you know that you've got a chicken salad planned for lunch, but you can just expect your brain to say, let's not do that. Let's do something different. Just expect it. And then you can plan for what to do. So you're using your executive brain, your prefrontal cortex, to plan not just what you're going to eat, but how you're going to overcome the obstacles that your primitive brain puts in the way. Okay. So let's say that you have an emotional upset, or you're bored, or you're anxious. You have to learn how to process your feelings without caving into the desire to eat, or without people pleasing by eating some of your mother's cookies, as what happens to Marshall. So that's why it's so important to have this plan ahead of time. So plan what you're going to eat, plan how you're going to handle any urges to eat off plan. And sometimes, you might want to just observe yourself for a few days and see, because sometimes you don't really know what the obstacles are until you're actually presented with them in the moment. And so it needs to be a very compassionate learning journey for you as well. So you don't have to be perfect at this. You can make mistakes, and we'll talk about failure in another podcast and how to make mistakes and how to move past that. But for now, what I want everybody to understand is just how important it is to notice what your brain does. Don't just go automatically eat. Sit down and recognize and become aware of what kinds of urges your primitive brain comes up with in the moment. Become much more aware of what types of emotional upsets you experience during the day. Upset might be too strong of a word, but I always have this time at 3:00 in the afternoon where I get kind of antsy and restless because I just want to go home. And so we all kind of have periods of time, lots of people with young children, they get the kids to bed, and then that's the time where, oh, thank God they can finally relax. So that's a struggle period for a lot of people. So we all have periods during our days where we have these sort of ups and downs in our emotional, in our emotions, and understanding your own rhythms will be very, very helpful. Okay. What I want people to know is that when you do the weight loss journey really well and you learn how to manage your primitive brain, this weight loss journey then becomes a training ground for a whole new set of life skills. Okay? Because what you're going to discover is that you have other goals that your primitive brain is getting in the way of too, not just weight loss. And so what you're going to end up doing is really being able to use your prefrontal cortex brain to move yourself forward in life in all kinds of other ways. So that's why I'm so excited about the weight loss journey done right for people, because the skills that you learn are absolutely incredible. Okay. It's not easy. I don't want anybody to think it's easy, but it's super, super rewarding. So, Marshall, do you have any comments or anything about?
I was just thinking like something that you told me back when, because I remember, when I first started this, I was really connected to snacking. I still am. I still have like a problem with snacking. And I would always think that I was hungry, like I'm hungry, so I'm snacking. But I remember you telling me, like when we were studying, the scale of emotions, to like when you think you're hungry, instead of automatically, like what sounds good, what tastes good, and going with that, to like sort of stop and label your emotion that you're feeling, even if it's just boredom, and then sort of assessing the situation like, okay, well, I just ate lunch, so I probably am not hungry right now. I'm probably like feeling some type of way, and then sort of like sitting with that, and then letting it pass. And it does pass. And it's hard at first, because like if you're a snacker like I am, it's hard to tell myself no when I want snacks. I mean, and mostly I snack out of boredom, and just to get like that little bit of pleasure, that feel good, when I'm snacking on whatever, I don't want to say any trigger words, but on anything that I shouldn't be eating. And so that's one thing I remember, because I was just trying to think back on like, how did I get started on that, to try to get past it, and definitely talking to yourself very, very kindly, because this is a journey, it's not, I mean, this is not something we're just cured from, in a month, or, I mean, it's, obesity is a disease, and getting this under control, I mean, it takes a long time to understand it. And, you just got to be super supportive to yourself.
Yeah.
And so like even me, so this is my third time of doing the sugar and flour detox. And so I am on day 5? Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
So, and that was with a root canal too. See, so I did pretty well, I think. And because that's like something, what you said, one of those life, situations where you can resort back to, to like the comfort foods. But I'm trying to like just learn and do things differently. And when I have to start over again, I start over again, and I just use it as a learning experience. And I just think you just got to be really supportive to yourself, and just don't give in so easily when you feel like you're hungry. And for me also with the meal planning, I don't plan meals like a week ahead, because like I'm an overachiever. The reason why I do that is because when I'm skipping breakfast, I know that's when I'm off track. And I just so happen, because I'm lazy and I don't love to cook that much. I found this breakfast frittata that I can make a whole week's worth, and then wrap them up, and put them in the refrigerator. And then I feel like, okay, so I got my breakfast. And so when I'm eating breakfast every day, I really feel like I'm on my game. And so that's why I do that. And so it just, turns out that I can plan, a week ahead. But if you can't plan a week ahead and you can plan a day ahead, do that. It's whatever works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea is to plan it ahead. to never make food decisions in the moment.
Right.
To always, because that's your primitive brain that's going to make those food decisions. If you have planned ahead and you're making your food decisions at least 24 hours in advance, then your prefrontal cortex is making those decisions. And you might even plan that you're going to have a special splurge meal. Like maybe it's Friday and you're going to go out on Saturday night and you're going to have a splurge meal at a restaurant because there's a celebration or an occasion. Just make sure that you've planned it ahead of time so that your prefrontal cortex is making the decision, not your primitive brain.
Yep. Okay? Planning.
And whatever you planned to eat at that restaurant or whatever it is that you've planned to do, follow that plan in the moment. Okay. So that's the tricky part because you can get to the restaurant and then you'll be like tempted with all kinds of things and your prefrontal, your primitive brain is going to say, oh, well, that sounds better than that, what you planned. It's just always about managing that primitive brain. So you learn to manage your primitive brain and the urges that come from your primitive brain, you are going to be successful at weight loss. But it takes time. And you have to understand that, you've got patterns that you have developed over many, many years. And so, like you were talking about with snacking, like your brain was used to getting snacks all day. And so then you tell your brain, well, no, we're not doing that anymore. And your brain's going to put up a little bit of a fight, right? Takes a little time for the brain to stop getting used to those little snacks. Okay. But you can extinguish that pattern pretty quickly. So you just extinguish the patterns that don't serve you and develop patterns that do serve you. And you lose weight as you go. It never happens as fast as you want it to, but you lose weight as you go. And when you slip up, you just start over. The only people who fail are the people who quit.
Right. Okay? Never give up, no matter what happens.
Can't give up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to kind of sum up, I would like to ask all of our listeners to ask themselves, who is it that's making your food decisions? Is it your primitive brain or is it your prefrontal cortex, your executive brain, or some of each? Who do you want to be making your food decisions? How are you going to make sure that your future self is healthy and happy? So those are my questions for you. And I would encourage you to sit down and do some journaling about this and start writing things down that you're eating and notice your patterns. Get in touch with what you're feeling when you're having these urges to eat. Name the feeling. That's huge. And start using your prefrontal cortex to make your food decisions and see what happens. I guarantee you'll be satisfied if you do. All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And we will see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.